fond memories of Forest, and it's always great to come back.
I know when you were at Forest, in those very early days for you, there was a certain Peter Shilton that was in your way of being the man in the penalty area, wasn't there?
Unfortunately, there was, yes, yeah. But to be fair, I mean, if they hadn't have signed Schultz, then I probably wouldn't have got my break as I did, because signing him meant that he was cup tied, and it actually allowed me to play in the League Cup.
Yeah, and that was something for you, really, which was quite special. But what was he like to work with as the other goalkeeper?
He was very demanding. He knew what he wanted. I learnt an awful lot from him. I mean, everybody knows how hard he worked, but the majority of his work on a Thursday, and then sort of didn't do too much on a Friday the day before a game. But, you know, he was always good to me. He passed on tips, and, I mean, I actually watched his training and put a lot of his stuff into my training, and hopefully it helped me through my career.
But sometime later, of course, you were well into the England side. I think, about 43 caps?
That's correct, yes.
At some stage, you must have really wondered when you were going to get the chance.
It was difficult, I suppose, because with Schultz being best goalkeeper that I've actually seen and worked with, you know, it was going to be difficult to oust him out of his position. So but I left and went and made my own way. But then I got into the England setup, and it was good to be back with him again. And I think it wasn't quite so frustrating because, you know, I was going back to my club and I was playing week in, week out, and I was still having the opportunity to be with the England squad and actually learn even more from Schultz.
I was wondering when I was going to speak to you whether you might have a Scottish accent with all the time you spent when you eventually went up to Scotland.
Well, I spent 5 years up there, so it was funny because my children were obviously very young when we went up there, and people were saying, they'll come back with a Scottish accent, and to be fair, they picked one or two words up, but once we came back down south, it soon sort of back into the English accent.
You were at Nottingham Forest at a very critical time for Forest, weren't you?
Well, it was at the time when things went very, very well, and then unfortunately I was there when they won the league, won the League Cup, won the European Cup. So, but then again, that was when I was saying that there came a time when I felt that I needed to be playing, and to do that, unfortunately, I had to leave.
But you would have made good friends with quite a number of people who I'm totally going to turn up and maybe even ask you some questions.
Oh dear. Yes, no, it's always nice to see old friends, and it's weird because as you get older, you seem to become more friendly, even though you don't see them very often. It's a good camaraderie as you get older. That's what I've found anyway.
You must have had a great number of games. I was trying to calculate the league games. Quite a bit over 500, isn't it?
I would think so, yes. And that was league games. I mean, to be quite honest, if you was to pay me quite a lot of money, I couldn't tell you the exact figure, but it was something I look back on and I think, well, I've played a fair number of games, and there's been good moments and there's been not quite so good moments, but overall it's been something that I look back on and think, well, I've achieved something.
A few years ago I was over in Colorado and you spent a little bit of time over there.
I signed for 2 years with the Colorado Rapids back in '96, and when the season finished I came back and actually signed on loan for Southampton. After the 6th game I broke my leg and displaced my ankle. So I actually didn't go back and did all my rehab back at Sheffield Wednesday. But I should have gone back for another season, but didn't work out, and eventually I went to Sunderland actually. Unfortunately at that time I still wasn't 100% fit, so it took a little while just to get over.
One thought to put to you before I let you go, because I know you're busy. Brian Clough, I mean, what are your overriding memories of him? Because you'd have known him as a very young player.
It was one of those that you never sort of answered back to him, and you took a lot of notice of what he said. So me starting out in football, you didn't want to sort of do anything that upset anybody, so and I couldn't have had a better teacher than Brian Clough.
Do you remember sometimes perhaps seeing in the dugout a very young Nigel Clough sitting there when his father used to bring him there because he's now the manager here at Mansfield Town?
Yes.
Do you remember those days?
I certainly do, yes. Yeah, I mean, gosh, I hate to think how many years ago it is, but yeah, I do remember both Nigel and Simon coming to the games. And
what do you think now that he's made quite a career for himself in the lower leagues as a manager as well?
Oh, he has, yes. I mean, he's done very, very well. And I think he's taken on a few of his father's traits, where I met him at St George's Park and he has his dog there as well. So, a lot of sort of things that Brian did that, Nigel is doing.
Couldn't have had a bad person to learn from, could he, his dad?
Definitely not, no. He was a one-off, and I mean, any time that you heard him being interviewed and anything, you just wanted to listen.
Yeah, I interviewed him a number of times. I'm not sure whether he always listened to my question. He always gave the answers he wanted to give.
Yes, yeah.
Incredible man. Thank you very much for giving me the time tonight, and I hope you have a great time in Nottingham.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you.